Good afternoon, everybody. My name is miahtheking, and what's that? Another video so soon after the last one? Well, as I've said before several times, I try really hard to put out as many videos as I can when a game releases. And for me, it was between this one and that other one that released around the same time. I don't remember what it was, but I picked this one because it just seemed more city builder-like, and well, that was just kind of what I was going for. So, what are we taking a look at today? Or rather, this afternoon? A city building simulation game called Grimgrad, developed and published by Worlds? Is that how you pronounce it? I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong. Anyway, this game was released not in early access and is selling on Steam for $17 American. What is the deal with all these weird pricings lately? $16, $17, $11? Whatever happened to $5, $10, or $15? Well, whatever. The point is, we're looking at a city building simulation game. If you don't know what that is, it's basically a game where you build a city, deal with random catastrophes, all while trying to maintain food and other resources that you're, try to keep your people happy, and you're trying to build up your city to being the biggest and the best. Now, as always, we'll go into the good and the bad, finishing up with my final thoughts and my recommendation. Now then, first for the positives is the look and feel of the game. I guess the graphics, they look pretty good. I mean, if you zoom in, you can see a lot of attention to detail here. The colors are a bit darker and more depressing, but because of the setting and the story of the game, it's actually a good choice to make it a bit darker like this. Oh yes, there's a story, but don't worry, we'll get into that later. For now, though, I think the game looks pretty good. It's nice to look at, not too much, not too little, and overall, for what they're going for here, the theme and the overall ambiance, it just feels right. Next up is the gameplay. So, the gameplay for a city builder is very important, as a lot of fans of this genre will tell you. The user interface needs to be comfortable, as does the keyboard shortcuts and how the mouse functions. Plus, the gameplay itself in the game needs to make sense and work for whatever it is that you're trying to do. And here, they got it almost completely right. They're missing a few things, sure, like not letting you know which part of the building is the entrance, so how do you build it along the roads without knowing which way is forward? Now, in some buildings it's fine, I mean that's clearly a doorway, so it must be the front, but in a lot of the buildings it's not so much straightforward, and you kind of just need to guess. It's a bit of the pain in the ass, but for the most part, everything still seems to work fine. And as you're playing, everything seems to feel, just comfortable as well. I mean, the UI isn't bad, the gameplay is rather cohesive, and everything seems to make sense. In the gameplay, you need to monitor your people's food, their cleanliness, their happiness, their basic needs to survive, and their dead bodies. That's right, you need actual corpse carriers, who kind of act like street cleaners. They go around making sure there's no contamination, that's their job. Think of it like a dump truck. You have to build a garbage dump far away from the rest of your city and wait for them to show up and collect your waste. As for the story, well, let's go into our next positive, the writing and the story. So the writing here is phenomenal. There's a lot of it though. But luckily, you can skip it if you don't want to read it and don't really care for the story portion of this game. You're playing as like the last survivor of some holy line descendant from a goddess, I think that's what they were saying. And you're playing as a people who are basically nomads. They're constantly traveling while trying to survive and avoid an enemy, all while you're learning how to play the game. It's all really well written and very creative with a lot of thought put into it, which leads me to my next positive, the tutorial. Considering how bad the tutorial was in the last game I played, I might be a bit biased here, but the tutorial is really well executed. It's done in step with the story, it's not too complicated to understand, they don't throw everything at you, and yet you still get all the information you need to learn how to play the game. I'd encourage everyone to play the tutorial for the story alone, but it's also got a lot of well-written dialogue that these guys clearly worked hard on, and it's not too bad either in teaching you. It really eases you into the gameplay in a good kind of way. The next positive I have is the price and the length, plus replayability. So as a city builder, it's clearly got the replayability, and with the length of time, and all that dialogue, plus the graphics, and all that's here. I mean, to me, the price tag is very appropriate. This should probably be priced closer to $20, which only makes that $17 price tag all the sweeter. And the last positive is the stability. The game never froze, never crashed, never dropped frame rates on me. It's pretty darn stable, which is good. It sucks that I have to mention this, but it's because all those other games releasing their games not in stable conditions, but here it works just fine, so you don't have to worry about that. Okay, so that's all I got for the positives. Next up is the negatives, but before that, please do me a favor and support my channel. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, leave a comment, or hit that bell. It all helps a lot more than you think it does. It helps by getting my channel more out there so that more people can see the stuff I'm putting out, and that's how I grow. So, please consider helping me. Thank you. Now then, on to the negatives. The first is the sound and music. The sound effects are so quiet, even when I turn them up above the music, I can still barely hear anything. That music is so overpowering. The music's at half, but the sound effects are at full, and I can still barely hear what's going on. And, the music, it's just kind of blah. I mean, it's okay, I guess, but it's forgettable, and it quickly fades into obscurity while you're playing, and you're not going to remember it ever. All you want to listen to is the sound effects, which are so damn quiet I can barely tell if they're even worth a damn, and when I can hear them, they sound okay, I guess. Overall, the sound and music quality here is below average, and considering you're just sitting around doing this for hours, you're going to need something good to listen to, so, you know, play your own soundtrack. Or go to YouTube and find a medieval ambient sound effect track thing out there. The second thing is just random things happening here and there that don't make any sense, or other random tidbits. I mean, maybe it's a balancing issue, maybe the game needs a twerk or two, but it's things like missing a signifier telling you where the front of the house is, or even though I have more corpse carriers than houses, I still have contamination, even though that's their job, so how's that happening? Or how the gods will get mad at you for not worshipping them, but there's no option to build a worship building for them anywhere in the build menu. There was like 4 buildings that you can build for one goddess, but what about the other 3? So how do you stop them from getting mad at you? I don't know. Plus, even though the game, and when they get mad at you, they do things to you, like they make it so your people need more water, or they make it so your contamination rises, or they make it so it's harder for you to fish, or stuff like that. So they get mad at you and it just hurts your economy completely. Plus, even though the game does give you some form of management to manage your people, it feels a bit half-assed. I mean, they create a gate guard system to block people from going down a certain street, but the names for who can go and who can't go are just odd. I mean, how am I supposed to know that the corpse carrier was called a night soil gatherer or whatever? I mean, how does that make sense? Just call him what he is. He's clearly walking down the street with a cart and it's got bodies in it. He's clearly a corpse carrier and nothing else. So just call him that. So it's just little things like that that are scattered about that take some getting used to and are going to require several playthroughs for you to understand everything that's going on here. Now, I was kind of nitpicking, to be honest. Don't get me wrong, the game isn't, you know, bad, but it's just short of great. I can't really explain it. Maybe it's the meh music or the lack of significant ambient sound effects. Maybe it's the weird naming system. Maybe it's the fact that no matter how many grain farms I make, I still never have enough grains. I think it just needs a few twerks to make it a bit better, change the names to something more obvious, give us a bit more management of our citizens, and balance the resource issue. I mean, I build 2 wells next to 4 houses. The wells are fully employed, and still those houses need water. How? Why? It just needs to be reworked a little bit. Maybe a patch can balance this out a little bit. But overall, the game's not terrible, it's just average. So if you're desperate for a city builder and been looking for a new one, then this one will scratch that itch for you. But if you're looking for something new and amazing, doing something no one else is doing, then look elsewhere. It's just another typical average city builder and doesn't do anything special or new. I mean, I'm literally racking my brain right now and trying to find something in this game that they do different from other city builders. They gave you a story, that's been done. They have gods that you can worship that can provide you bonuses or negatives. Again, that's been done. I don't understand. What is it, the corpse carriers? I think the corpse carriers are probably the only thing here that other games haven't done, and they normally have something like dump trucks, so we don't need corpse carriers in those games. So that might be the only thing they're giving to the genre that's new. A guy who walks around carrying dead bodies. So, you know, if everything I've said, you know, if that's enough for you and you still want to pick it up, then sure, do so. It serves its purpose. It's just not doing anything super great. So the decision is ultimately going to be yours. I mean, to be honest, for $17, it's really not that bad. Just don't expect it to be super awesome or something you've never seen before. Alright, everybody? Okay, so that's all the time I got for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions or concerns, please let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all again on my next adventure. So until then, I bid you all farewell.